Hi, welcome to this video which I'll be showing an interesting demo and also like a tutorial. So both a demo and a tutorial of a project which I built on Databricks. So the project is called ResumeFlow, and the aim of the project is building a HR intelligence platform for smarter decision making. And all of this you can also do from your end using the free edition of Databricks. So in this video, I'll be showing you how some of this was achieved, and also thankfully I've done a documentation on the entire process, which I have on my Substack. So I'll drop the link to that on the description of this video, so you can go through the Substack to also help. And also, this video is also going to help you if you are using the Substack to be able to walk through the process as well. Now, all you need to have for this video largely is the free edition of Databricks. Also, there are ways to scale it further. If you have an Azure version of Databricks or AWS version of Databricks, yes, you can carry out this process. And one thing that I would like you to think about in terms of maybe next step you can do, or probably trying something different, is probably thinking of ways to protect some of your information. Probably also thinking of ways to connect to storage accounts. For this demo, GitHub was used because GitHub is openly available for everybody basically without having to set up API restrictions and all. So you may want to consider maybe using, if the data is in a storage account, either in GCP, AWS, how can you, or Azure, how can you work with it? Also, you may want to think of how to set up gateways and firewalls for your accounts, and how to create apps to ensure it works perfectly. But while trying to avoid all those complexities in this demo, so using things that are readily available for everybody. So if you just have a free edition of Databricks and you have a GitHub account, you are good to go with this demo. Now, what's the problem for this demo? Now, basically, in a lot of organizations, the question of how many applications have we received for a role, which candidates match our job requirements, what skills are trending across applicants in the particular quarter or the particular period, it takes a lot of time to answer. It's tough to answer, and sometimes it requires technical know-how, which some professionals may not be that accustomed to as well. It takes a lot of manual tuning and effort to achieve. Now, what is this? What's the business scenario? So it's mid-sized team, tech team wants to modernize its hiring process. So the executives need a dashboard to view hiring progress across department. And you also have professionals who are not that adapt with probably your BI tools, your Excel, your spreadsheet, who would just like to dig deeper, ask questions about the hiring process and be able to get insight as well. Now, for the sake of this demo, we imagine a company which they have a form, people fill the form, how they upload their CVs. Now, their CVs are stored in a particular folder. For this demo, use the GitHub repo folder. The link to this is also on the documentation. If you go to the documentation and scroll down, you'll see links to resources. So if you click on the dataset PDF, it will show you the dataset. Now, it's important to know that all the data, the names here are not real names. They are synthetic data, do not attribute to anybody, synthetic generated data as well. So that's quick disclaimer. Let me see if I can open one to show the format in which the data comes in. But basically, there are PDF documents which contains, like I said, fictional data of CVs of fictional. All the companies here, don't take them to heart, of fictional data. So these are, like, imagine a case of a scenario where applicants apply, their CVs are uploaded to a particular platform as well, to a particular platform and folder. Now, this data is in a PDF. You need to extract key information from this data from their CVs. Like, you need to extract their skill sets. You need to be able to extract their experience years. You need to be able to extract various things in terms of places they've worked or places they are currently still working, their education level, their language, and all. You need to be able to extract this. And for the dashboard, if the problem was just to ask question based on the data, yes, I know you can think, oh, maybe you just upload it to an LLMs and start asking questions and all. It's not always the best case scenario, especially if you are dealing with a company business scenario. You won't just want to upload your data directly to a GPT or a model like that. But the problem scenario is they also want to be able to build a dashboard and executive summary based on the data and all. So that now led to this interesting, insightful approach, which I'll show the diagram which I have here, just hopefully to be able to pop up more. Yes, so this is the simple architecture which I have here. So data is coming in through GitHub, and the data is ingested using a Databricks notebook and stored in a Delta table that's on Databricks. Then the data is now visualized into a dashboard, and you have your Genie, your Databricks Genie, to ask questions based on the data in the process. So that's how this entire process works. Now it's important to note you can replace GitHub with your SharePoint, your OneDrive, your whatever process that it may be, but it may require some additional setup, which you'll be able to probably figure out by just making some tweaks to the Python code generated. Yeah. So with that out of the way, so how did we go about building this process? So I'm just going to show my Databricks screen right here. So first of all, you need to create a Databricks notebook. Now, if Databricks is new to you, this entire platform, this is the workspace, and if you've used other tools or services as well, you sort of intuitively get the hang of Databricks as it progresses. This is not a video to explain Databricks. Maybe I may have other videos on that later on. But generally, you can click on new and add new items to your Databricks notebooks, queries, dashboard, Genie, and the various of this, which, like I said, I could explain in subsequent videos going forward. Now, for this case scenario, I added this notebook, the Python notebook, which is extraction resume. And for the notebook, the two libraries which you will likely need is OpenAI, and you will need this PDF miner. What is PDF miner? It helps collect text from the PDF. Then the OpenAI which we are using, which you can directly get from the AI and ML route in Databricks for free. We are using the Databricks environment for it. That helps to classify the text extracted and also do a little bit of analysis based on the data. So, for example, if you can look at this data, you can see there's nothing on the CV that is stating the years that they work, like the number of years of experience. Yeah, you can get it from okay 2020, 2023, 24. So, but you need to be able to get the years they've worked on. Now, like I said, the Python notebook is here. This is the Python notebook, which you can download from Git, all on the folder which I have uploaded. Now, for the Python notebook, if you scroll down, what you will need for the Python notebook is the GPT model name and the GPT base URL. This is the seven URL. And how can you get this? On Databricks itself, if I come here and I click on the playground, click on the playground, and for this demo, I used Gemma, the Gemma 312B model trained by Google, because I know Google to some extent has nice ways to extract this bit of information. You can read up more about this documentation. I tried a couple of the other available models, but I think the best result I was getting was with this Gemma, and there's documentation on actively why you can get that. So once you click on this playground and you select the model, select this icon to select the model you want, you can select public Gemma, and you can click on this use endpoint. So it will change the Gemma to this. What you need is, if you want to call it in an API, you can click on this get code and select Python API. You can see the Python API for it, and this is where you get your URL and the necessary details for that. So once you get that information, you can copy it and back to the code that we have here, and you can edit this section of it. So that's that section of the code which you need to change. Then, if you are using GitHub, you need to specify your GitHub username, the repo you are working with, the branch, if it's the main branch or you created another branch, and the particular folder needed for it as well. Now, this classification for this use case scenario was already done. So this is just trying to get the description of each of the fields I needed and what you need to be able to, what you needed to be able to extract properly from, which is this class. Yeah. And like I said, this is, I already did this work because I already knew what I wanted. For you, if you need to modify it a bit, maybe you don't want some of these fields, you want a different field, you can edit this section of the code. Yeah. So what the LLM function does, like I said, the PDF function, it extracts the text. The LLM function, extraction function, what it does is, if you look at this system prompt, you're an expert HR data extractor, extract structured data from the provided resume text. And if I scroll up a bit, from the provided resume text. So if you see this PDF to text, it's the text extracted from that PDF using that PDF miner. It's important to note that you could probably use another model that could directly read the PDF directly, but for this model, use the PDF miner to extract the necessary information, then pass it into the LLM to be able to do further classification and bit of analysis. You're an expert HR data extractor. Extract structured data from the provided resume text. Output each field in this format. If a field is missing, leave it as blank. The current year is 2025. Yeah. So the other aspect of the code which are largely important, they've been explained in the documentation. The LLM based field extraction, the resume text extraction as well, and the reason behind all of that, and how to select the endpoints. Then you have a validation section of the code. Now, once you've copied the code, you can copy this entire code and change the parts which I mentioned, your URL and the model you are using for your project. Once you've done that, now you'll be able to run the code. Where's that section? Yeah. So you'll be able to run the code which you've created. Yes. So once you run the code which you've created, now you can come down and you see the end process, which is the table generated for you. Now, if you're having any issues generating that table, we can leave a comment. We can always take it up from there. And if you can see what the final output includes, experience years, you got the education level, source file, load time. This load time can be largely important for other stuff. Category of the category, and yeah, full name. So if you notice in some of the CVs, some people didn't provide information like email and phone number. That's a problem. You don't you could a process you could do is you could even filter those people out. You don't want to store the data since there's no way to contact, but you could also leave it and you train your model to probably ignore this when it's selecting candidates. So this is the data, the final output data that we have. If you want to be sure this is in the data lake, important to mention is creation of a catalog. So created a catalog for this project, and inside this you have this particular table, which is where the data is sitting in. The candidate extracted new. So if I select the computer to show me a preview of the data, which is the data that was already loaded. Now, once you've done that whole process and all, it's important to note that the beauty of automations and all these things is you don't want to be doing the process over and over again. Also, if you want to link the process to other processes which you may have. Like once it has done that, you probably want it to maybe trigger out notifications, do some further stuff you can do. You can on the notebook. It's important to note on the notebook itself you can set schedules. But one thing that I personally like is creating jobs. So if you create a job jobs helps you orchestrate various processes which you have. So you could have the notebook. You can add another process which will probably be a SQL query. You can add another process that could be a DBT, a run job, a clean room notebook, a Power BI. You could even have all of this process. So if you want to move to create a Power BI report or keep a Power BI report data up to date, you can do that from this process. Now, what I did, I just showed you how easy it is to click on jobs and create jobs. What I did was this job created. Just click on the job. Previously, it failed. The reason why it failed is important to know that. Okay, I just clicked on the job. If- So some failures which you may have is if you do not properly arrange your code, as simple as not keeping the libraries which you're supposed to install at the proper section, your code may fail. But it's simple tweaks you can get it to work. So if you can see this succeeded, I just ran the job. And what's the job that was created? If I go to the task in the job, it's a very simple job. I just have the notebook, and what this job is basically doing is orchestrating the notebook. You can select the compute you are using, which for the free version, a serverless compute is automatically created for you. You could decide if you are using if you are using the Azure version, maybe the AWS version, or another version. You could set your compute. Compute helps properly process the various tasks you have. I know you could set a better compute for it. Now, this retries, if it fails once, what do you want it to happen? You can set a number of retries for this. You can set a notification. It pushes the notification to a particular user or person at the end of the day. Now, now you have the dashboard which was created. The dashboard is created in Databricks dashboard. Very easy and seamless process. In the sense of the dashboard, you have data. The dashboard, the data generated from the table. If I go to data, if I click on data, that's what's feeding into this simple dashboard reports. So if you see the data created is this created new, extracted new. And if I go to the overview, you can see some of the metrics that was created in this dashboard. And all these metrics, they are very simple to do. Another interesting or lovely thing about Databricks is for the dashboard, if you probably want to create a new visual, probably I want to create one below here, I'll come here. And maybe for some reason you just maybe do not have the technical flair for creating BI or creating, or you may not be that Databricks proficient. You can just type what you want and it will help you create the particular type of chart, and you can always edit what it has created for you. So that's a let's say, quick guide on how you can get that done. Yeah, so the dashboard includes the candidate by experience here, candidate by current company, candidate count by language, education degree breakdown, and you have the various filters which you can filter any of the report based on the category, the education degree. Just a simple dashboard, but to showcase which value. Now, at the end of the day, you also have a Genie, which is an AI agent created for you, which is an AI agent, so which you can create in Databricks. And what the AI agent does is, if I go back to Genie is perfectly suited for your structured data, your data in your particular Delta Lake, or your data in your particular Delta table. So, um, Genie, if you can click on new, you'll be able to create a new Genie. And what it does is, you need to point it to the particular data table that you have, which if I come here, you see um, is the candidate extracted new, and you can give it instruction. This instruction is the system prompt. The system prompt is like the behavior in which you want the AI agents to act on. Now, it's important to note that if you do not particularly specify this, it will probably just act on its own. It will still probably give you responses. But one rule of thumb is always try to set system prompt so it doesn't hallucinate a lot. With the system prompt, you can guide it on how you want it to approach problems and issues. Now, so this is using the text. You can also use SQL expressions, like you can give it SQL expressions to for it to be able to work better with. You can also give it SQL queries and join and the rest like that. Now, the beauty of this is that if I just click on this, for example, what the various categories of candidates you have, it will give me a response. You as the HR, since you have a pool of applicants and you have their CVs, you can even probably just copy their job role and you just ask a question like based on this job role, what are the data that we what are the who is the best person suited for the job? And if you see on my documentation, let me even see if I have that. On my documentation, you can see a typical example of a process should I copy the job and it's showing like who is the best candidate for the job. Yeah. So that's with the talent space. Now it's important to know that this Genie is live in Databricks and you can share with other people. But using the Genie, there's something called the Genie API. You can even configure this Genie in an outside environment, even beyond your normal Database. So that's an interesting use case scenario to explore. So yes, this is was intended to be a short video, but this is a video explaining like the step-by-step process in which was taken to create this. I will advise you to spend more time with the documentation. You could also leave a comment, engage in the engage in the documentation, and try to build it out for yourself. If you want to retweak the process, you can also try that and reach out if you have any help. I'm also interested in creating further video content on data automation and AI. So if there's a particular topic you'll be interested, feel free to leave in the demo. Let's build together and hope to see you next time.